3 haunted places that were never really empty. True accounts from people who went in and came back different. Reader discretion advised. Names have been changed. These events are real. Story 1. The old hotel on 4th Street. The door slammed open before Marcus even touched it. He stood in the doorway of room 214, his suitcase still in his hand, the hallway light flickering behind him. The room was dark, cold, the kind of cold that doesn't come from bad heating. The kind that sits in the walls. Hello? Nothing answered. He stepped inside. Marcus had booked the Aldrich Grand because it was cheap and he was tired. 12 hours of driving, a canceled flight, and a client meeting first thing in the morning. He just needed a bed. The woman at the front desk had given him a long look when she handed him the key. "Is something wrong with the room?" he'd asked. "No," she said. Too quickly. "Enjoy your stay." He unpacked, brushed his teeth, turned off the light. He was asleep within minutes. He woke at 2:17 a.m. to the sound of the television. Static. Full volume. The screen was blazing white in the dark room, and Marcus sat up. Heart already hammering, reaching for the remote. He clicked it off. Lay back down. Stared at the ceiling. Then he heard the footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Right above his head. He grabbed his phone and called the front desk. It rang 8 times before someone answered. "There's someone walking around above me," Marcus said. "Room above mine." "What number is that?" Silence on the line. Then, "Sir, you're on the top floor." Marcus did not sleep again that night. He lay perfectly still, listening to the footsteps move back and forth above him for 3 hours. At 5:45 a.m., they stopped. He got up at dawn. His whole body ached the way it does after a night of pure terror. That deep, bone-level exhaustion you can't explain to anyone who hasn't felt it. He splashed water on his face, gripped the edge of the sink. Told himself it was pipes. Old building. Coincidence, he almost believed it. He reached for his watch on the nightstand. Next to his watch was a glass of water he had not poured. His first thought, absurdly, was that he must have done it in his sleep. His second thought was that he'd been awake the entire night. His third thought was that he needed to get out of this room immediately. He called downstairs instead. His hands were shaking so badly he misdialed twice. "Front desk, good morning." "Did someone come into my room last night?" His voice came out louder than he intended. "Room 214. Did housekeeping come in?" "Anyone?" "Absolutely not, sir. We take guest privacy very seriously." "Then why is there a glass of water on my nightstand that wasn't there when I went to sleep? Someone was in this room." The line went quiet for so long Marcus thought they'd hung up. He could hear breathing on the other end, slow and careful, like someone choosing their next words with great precision. Then the voice came back, lower now, almost a whisper. "Mr. Marcus, I need you to do something for us. Could you look at the mirror? The large one on the wall opposite the bed. Just look at it and tell me what you see." Something in the way she said it made every hair on his arms stand up. Not a casual request. Not a strange question from a tired front desk worker. It was the voice of someone who already knew what he was going to find. He turned around slowly. There was a woman in the mirror, standing just behind his left shoulder. Dark dress, head tilted slightly to one side. Her eyes were open, and she was looking directly at him through the glass. Marcus spun around. The room was empty. He grabbed his bag. He did not check out. He just left, drove 4 hours to the next city, and sat in a diner until his hands stopped shaking. 3 days later, he sent an angry email to the hotel demanding an explanation. A manager named Phyllis called him back. "Mr. Marcus, I owe you an apology. We should have disclosed the history of that room." What history? A woman named Edna Aldrich built this hotel in 1923. She lived in room 214 for 40 years and died there in 1963. Our staff, we've had reports before. We usually just don't put guests in that room. Then why did you put me there? Another long pause. Because, Mr. Marcus, that room has been locked and empty for 6 years. We don't have a key for it anymore. We have no idea how you got in. Marcus still has the photo he took that morning. A quick shot of the room before he left. He's shown it to dozens of people. Everyone notices the same thing. The mirror in the background. The woman in it, clear as day. And Marcus, standing with his back to the camera. Not looking at the mirror, but she is looking at him. If that gave you chills, you're not alone. Like this video and subscribe. Story 2 is darker. Much darker. Story 2, The Abandoned School at the Edge of Town. It was Jade's idea. It was always Jade's idea. It's just a building, she said, flashlight already in hand, already walking. An empty, abandoned, completely harmless building. Her 3 friends followed. Daniel, Priya, and a boy they all called Wes. Because that's what you do when you're 22, and someone dares you and the night is warm, and you think nothing can touch you. The Hollow Creek schoolhouse had been closed since 1987. A teacher had gone missing there, a man named Gerald Farrow, and the school had never reopened. No body was ever found. No explanation was ever given. The town simply locked the doors and tried to forget. The 4 of them broke in through a side window at 11 p.m. Inside, it smelled like chalk dust and old wood. Their flashlight beams moved across rows of small desks, still arranged in neat lines. A world map on the wall, its edges curling. A chalkboard at the front of the room, gray with age. This is actually kinda sad, Priya said quietly. Don't get emotional, it's just a school, Jade said, moving toward the hallway. Daniel stopped walking. On the chalkboard, in handwriting too fresh to be decades old, was a single word. Jade. Guys. His voice came out wrong. Guys, come look at this. They all looked. Jade laughed, nervous, too loud. Someone's pranking us. Someone must have come in before us. The window was latched from the inside, Wes said. I unlatched it myself. Nobody answered that. They split into pairs to explore. Jade and Daniel, Priya and Wes. And agreed to meet back in the main room in 15 minutes. At the 12-minute mark, Priya's voice came echoing down the hallway. Wes! Wes! Come here! He ran, found her standing in a small office at the end of the hall, holding her flashlight over a stack of old class photos. Framed. Dusty. She was holding one up, her hand trembling. Look at this, she whispered. It was a class photo. 30 children in rows, a teacher standing to the side. One face, right in the middle of the second row, had been scratched out, gouged out, deep into the paper, over and over until there was just a dark hole where a child's face had been. So, someone scratched out a kid in an old photo. Creepy, but... Wes. Priya's voice dropped to almost nothing. That's Jade's jacket. He looked again. The scratched-out figure was wearing a yellow jacket with a white stripe on the sleeve. Jade's jacket. The one she was wearing tonight. They ran back to the main room. Jade and Daniel were already there. Jade was sitting in one of the small student chairs, very still, staring at the chalkboard. All 4 of their names were written on it now. We need to go, Daniel said. Right now. We need to go. Getting Jade out took both of them. She wasn't resisting, exactly. She just wouldn't move on her own, wouldn't speak, kept her eyes fixed forward even as they half-carried her through the window and into the cold night air. She came back to herself slowly, standing by the car, her breath coming in shallow bursts. Daniel had his arm around her. Priya was crying quietly. Wes was staring back at the school building, jaw tight, saying nothing. "What happened to you in there?" Daniel asked. Jade blinked, looked at her hands. "I don't know. I remember walking into the main room and then... nothing. Like someone turned a light off inside my head." "You were just sitting there," Priya said. "Just sitting in one of those little kid chairs, staring at the board. I called your name 4 times. "I wasn't alone," Jade said suddenly. Her voice had gone very flat. "Someone was with me. He was very tall, and he kept saying it wasn't time yet." She paused. "He seemed angry that you came to get me." Nobody spoke. "Who?" Daniel finally managed. Jade looked at him. Her eyes were clear, completely calm, which was somehow worse than if she'd been hysterical. "I don't know, but he knew my name before I told him." She never said another word about it. Not that night. Not ever. They drove home in complete silence, and each of them quietly decided, without discussing it, to never go back. A month later, Daniel developed the photos he'd taken on his old film camera. He sat in the dim red light of his bathroom, watching the images appear in the developing tray one by one, and felt the cold move through him like water. He called Priya first. Her voice, when she answered, was already worried. She could hear something in his silence. "Dan, what is it?" "I need you to come over. Bring Wes. Don't call Jade." "Why not Jade?" "Because I don't think she should see these." In every single photo, the hallway, the classroom, the chalkboard, there were 5 people. 5. In every frame, a 5th figure stood just at the edge of the group. Tall, slightly blurred, as if it had moved during the exposure, the way things do when they don't quite want to be seen. They counted themselves in every photo. 4 flashlights, 4 faces, and 1 figure none of them recognized, always standing closest to Jade. Jade still doesn't know. They decided together not to tell her. Some things you carry alone. Don't scroll away yet. Story 3 happens in the one place you're supposed to feel safest. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Story 3, The House. We grew up in. Elena drove the 6 hours alone because she needed to. Her husband had offered to come. Her 2 closest friends had offered. She'd said no to all of them, though she couldn't explain exactly why. Something told her this was something she had to face in the particular silence of being the last one left. Her parents had both passed within 8 months of each other. Her father first, her mother following, as if one simply couldn't exist without the other, which Elena supposed was the most accurate description of their marriage she'd ever heard. She was the only child. The house fell to her. She pulled into the driveway on a Friday evening and sat in the car until it was almost dark before she could make herself go inside. The house smelled the same. That was the worst part. Like her mother's cooking and her father's paperback books, and something warm underneath both. The specific smell of a place that has held a family for 40 years. She stood in the doorway for a long moment with her hand over her mouth, not crying, just feeling the weight of it. She moved through the rooms slowly. Her mother's reading chair. The kitchen table with the wobbly leg they'd never fixed, not once, in 4 decades of trying. A photo on the wall of Elena at 8 years old, grinning with a gap in her front teeth. She was fine until she reached the east hallway. There was a door she didn't remember. Narrow, wooden, set slightly back from the wall with an old iron handle. Elena stood in front of it for a long time, trying to locate it in her memory, and found nothing. She'd grown up in this house. She knew every corner of it. This door did not belong. She tried the handle. Locked. She told herself it was a storage closet she'd simply forgotten. She went back to packing boxes. That night, going through her old bedroom, she found her childhood diary under a loose floorboard. She'd hidden it there at age 10, she remembered that. She sat on the floor and opened it. The first few entries were normal. School. Friends. A boy she'd had a crush on. But around page 40, something changed. The handwriting was still hers. She was certain of that. But she had no memory of writing what was on the page. My friend in the East Room says I shouldn't tell anyone about him. He says grown-ups don't understand. Elena's throat tightened. She turned the page. He knows everything that happens in the house. He said he watches through the walls. He said he's been here longer than we have and he'll stay after we leave. She turned another page. He showed me a drawing today. It was a picture of our whole family. He draws us every day. He said he's been drawing us since before I was born. Elena put the diary down, picked it up again, went to the east hallway. The door was open. She hadn't opened it. The lock had been dead in her hand for hours, but it stood open now, just slightly, a dark gap at the edge. She pushed it open the rest of the way. It was a small room, no window, a bare bulb in the ceiling that somehow still worked, flickering on as if triggered by her presence. And on every wall, every inch of every wall, floor to ceiling, drawings. Pencil and charcoal and crayon, layered over each other, some old and faded, some startlingly vivid. She stepped closer. They were of her family, her parents young, her parents old, her parents sitting at the kitchen table with the wobbly leg. Her as a baby, her at 8 with the gap in her teeth. The exact same moment as the photo in the hallway. Her as a teenager. Her as she looked now. Someone had been in this room her entire life, drawing them, watching them through the walls. She nearly ran. She nearly made it. But in the corner, pinned above all the others, was one final drawing. Fresh. The pencil line still sharp and clean. It showed Elena, in this room, standing exactly where she was standing now, in the same clothes she was wearing tonight, looking at the walls with her hand raised to her mouth. It was dated 4 days ago. She looked at the corner of the room. She didn't know why. Something made her look. On the wall, at waist height, was a handprint. Small, the size of a child's hand, still warm when she pressed her palm against it. Elena called the police from the front porch, sitting on the steps in the cold. Her knees pulled to her chest. She gave them the address in a voice that didn't sound like hers. They came. They found the room exactly as she described. They found the drawings. Hundreds of them. Maybe more. They found the handprint and photographed it carefully. This small, warm handprint that by the time they arrived had gone cold. They found something else too, behind the false back wall. A narrow space, just wide enough for a person, with a small shelf and marks on the floor, consistent with someone having sat there for extended periods over a very long time. The detective who called her afterward was a quiet man who chose his words carefully. Ms. Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need you to think about it seriously. In all your years growing up in that house, did you ever notice anything? Any sounds you couldn't explain? Any sense of being watched? She thought about it. Really thought. I used to hear things at night, she said slowly. In the walls. My parents said it was mice. I believed them. A pause. I always felt safer in the east hallway than anywhere else in the house. I never understood why. It just always felt occupied. Warm. The detective was quiet for a moment. We believe whoever lived in that space had been there for decades, possibly your entire childhood, possibly longer. Could it have been a child? He said he couldn't confirm that. He said it very carefully, which told her everything. Elena still has one of the drawings. She didn't mean to take it. It fell when she was leaving and she picked it up without thinking. It's a drawing of her parents, her mother and father sitting together on the porch, holding hands. Her father died 9 months ago, her mother 8 months ago. The drawing is dated last week. If this story stayed with you, it should. Like this video, leave a comment with which story scared you most and subscribe. There are more true stories coming, far worse than these. 3 different places, 3 different people, 3 different years. But if you look closely at the photos from each account, the hotel mirror, the school hallway, the small locked room, there is one figure that appears in all of them. Same height, same stillness, same dark coat. We don't know where it is now.